White House says US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi are in frequent contact as serious trade talks with India continue. India and Israel sign MOU to boost defense cooperation, focus on co-development, AI, cybersecurity and advanced technology sharing during the 17th Joint Working Group meeting in Tel Aviv. Meanwhile, Piyush Goyal visits New Zealand to review progress on India-New Zealand free trade agreement talks, aims to boost trade, investment and innovation ties between the two countries. Meli Mistry steps down as trustee of Tata Trusts after weeks of speculation, says he wants to protect Ratan Tata's legacy from disputes. US President Donald Trump signs an order cutting levies tied to China's fentanyl-linked imports, calling it a breakthrough in easing trade and drug control tensions with Beijing. The European Commission signals new members could join the bloc by 2030. Praises reform strides by Montenegro, Albania, Ukraine and Moldova, raising hopes for the bloc's biggest expansion in decades. And the world's largest sovereign fund in Norway says it will vote against Tesla's proposed $1 trillion compensation plan for Elon Musk at this week's shareholder meeting.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा के संग त्योहार की उमंग.
And the big story that we are bringing to you this morning, we have news coming in from New York City. The counting is over and Zohran Mamdani, the 34-year-old Democratic leader, is set to be the new mayor of America's largest city. Well, New Yorkers have elected left-wing candidate Zohran Mamdani at their next mayor in a landmark result seen as the first electoral verdict of President Donald Trump's turbulent second term. Mamdani, a 34-year-old state lawmaker from Queens, won despite intense attacks from President Trump, business groups and conservative media targeting both his progressive agenda and his Muslim identity. Now, running on a platform to ease New York's cost of living crisis, Mamdani promised free bus travel, expanded childcare and city-run grocery stores. He first shocked the political establishment by defeating former Governor Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary and beat him again in the general election on November 4th, where Cuomo ran as an independent. Mamdani, born in Uganda to an Indian family and a naturalized US citizen since 2018, is now all set to become the first Muslim mayor of America's largest city. His victory marks a dramatic rise from local activist to the helm of one of the world's most influential cities and signals a generational and ideological shift with potential national repercussions for the Democratic Party. Let's listen in first to what Zohran Mamdani said before the vote count began.
I look forward to representing those New Yorkers and look forward to fighting for every single dollar this city is owed. What we see in the language of Donald Trump is a premise as if it is his decision on whether or not to fund a city the very money that this city is owed. And I look forward to utilizing every single tool at my disposal as the next mayor of this city to fight for the people of it.
And of course, we've got a special panel of experts joining us this morning. Rakesh Khar, editor News9, R. Sridharan, editor International TV9 Network, and economist Mithali Nikore. Gentlemen, and Mithali, thank you so much for joining us this morning on this very important developing story. Shri, on to you first. Zohran Mamdani, 34-year-old progressive manifesto, and now, despite all the attacks from Donald Trump, he's all set to become the first Muslim mayor of New York City. What does this mean for New Yorkers?
So, Karthik, while Mamdani's victory was not really unexpected, it is stunning, yet, just the same for multiple reasons. Like you pointed out, he's a Muslim, and we all remember what happened in New York. It was the setting of the biggest terror attack in the US. The Twin Towers were brought down by Osama bin Laden and his gang of terrorists. And the other thing is, Mamdani is a socialist in a city that's the world's financial capital, which is the home to Wall Street. So Mamdani's victory to me is significant also because it points to the severe divide, the polarization that has now deeply set in American politics and in America as a country, Karthik. All the issues that Mamdani has fought on this mayoral election is rather anathematic to what US stands for as a free economy, as a capitalist beacon around the world. Mamdani is talking about, freezing rent control of subsidized housing. He's talking about a super bazaar version that Indians have been familiar with it. He's talking about taxing the rich, raising $20 billion from them. In fact, the billionaires of Wall Street have gone all out to pour money to back candidates against Mamdani, and yet they have failed. So what does it tell you about Mamdani's victory? That the average New Yorker is fed up of being edged out of the city that once belonged to them. They've been priced out of a city where prices have gone up, whether it is for food, for rents, for transportation, or even the safety of the city. So these are all the platforms on which Mamdani has fought. And I think what is very clear is that all the Wall Street money hasn't been enough to displace the voice of the Aam Aadmi in New York, Karthik.
The Wall Street and the elites of Wall Street pretty much edged out by Zohran Mamdani. But Mithali Nikore, let's talk about some of those pertinent points raised by Shri. And let's look at the manifesto of Zohran Mamdani. Now, pretty much the capitalist state of US and the beacon of capitalism, Donald Trump, and his scathing attacks against Mamdani have not really been able to offset all that Mamdani has offered. Everything from childcare to medical care to free bus rides to the superstores, state-run superstores. My question is, in a setup of the United States, can socialist, what some are calling leftist policies, and what Donald Trump has actually gone ahead and called communist policies, we haven't really seen that unfold in the way that it has in New York City. Talk to us about his manifesto and how New York City can afford what he has promised.
No, absolutely, Karthik. So when I was in New York in July, I was spending almost a month there working out of New York. What I realized is that America is a country which is very highly capitalist. I mean, for them, even as a value system, for us as Indians, we are a welfareist country. So when when a politician suggests giving, say, cash transfers, it seems quite normal to us because we feel that it is important and it is the responsibility of the government to take care of the vulnerable sections of the population. But in the US, you don't have this as a value system per se. People don't actually think that it is the government's responsibility to take care of the vulnerable sections of the population. Now, what Mamdani did is that he came into this election with actually Indian values in a sense, because these are values that he may have grown up seeing, that he may have seen, in India, that were actually helping the vulnerable sections of the population, and said, why can't we apply these values to the vulnerable people in the US and especially in New York? Because when you look at New York today, the nature of the city has completely changed. The homelessness in New York is at another level altogether. The crime has increased because of this homelessness and poverty. And there is a need for the government to come in and actually support the poorest sections, also support the middle classes. And that's what he appealed to. He talked about affordable housing. Affordable housing is a policy that has worked so well in India when we look at the PM Awas Yojana. So that's something that he brought into the New York discourse, which was not there before at all. He's spoken about city-owned supermarkets. Now think about your government kirana stores. For 50 years, India had a policy of government kirana stores, and that's exactly what he's talking about implementing in New York. Then I think the more innovative element of his campaign was childcare, because childcare is something that people don't recognize, politicians don't recognize as a critical cost component, which is actually demotivating couples, and studies have shown.
My limited point is, can the budgets of New York City accommodate all that Mamdani has put in his manifesto?
So I feel like what he's going to have to do is going to have to bring a panel of experts like myself, I hope, where literally we have to find funding from a number of sources. It cannot be just the government, but I think he will have to rely on public-private partnerships. He will have to rely on what we in India call corporate social responsibility. He will have to rely on philanthropic funding as well. So it is important for him to bring in the private sector to deliver on a lot of these promises, to then also not be seen as communists.
Right, but Rakesh Khara, I want to bring you in. The private sector seems to be completely, in line with Donald Trump, and that is the reason why Zohran Mamdani was opposed to in such high magnitude. Now, at a time when the US is under a federal shutdown, and at a time when Donald Trump is also threatening that he's going to curtail federal funding to New York City, what happens to the manifesto and what happens to the people of New York?
Morning, Karthik. Manifestos traditionally don't meet the fate they're supposed to meet. So whether it's India or the US, I'm a little, wary of what exactly will he deliver. First and foremost, we live in the world of extremities. Which one is more extreme finally delivers? So, Mamdani represented a very, very, strong shade of extremities, and he's got the verdict for that. It's fair and to ask for legitimate concerns of residents and citizens in a particular city, whether it's New York, whether it's New Delhi. But there is striking similarity between the political pitch in this case, between the politics of empowerment and politics of entitlement. We have seen the hazards of politics of entitlement. We have Bihar as a great case study right in front of us. For successive decades, we have seen that we're not been able to lift Bihar out of the real economic depravity that it lives because a certain trajectory of politics. So a very fair question that you asked, who is going to pay for all these reforms? And, I see defeat of market forces, which was the core identity of, the US economy and US as a nation, as an institution. When you move in with a manifesto which is based on one identity, which again is a problem to my mind, and second, based on a free kind of a socialist paradigm, there are inherent challenges to it from purely the perspective of who is going to fund for it. And when you have capital riled against you, I don't know finally how will it pan it out.
We don't know how this is going to pan out, but something very interesting which was part of Zohran Mamdani's overall election run-up was his campaign. And that campaign has an interesting backstory, and that campaign is something which really got the Gen Z hooked on to Zohran Mamdani, and perhaps that is something that translated to votes as well. So we've got our Gen Z Morning Brief producer Nupur Praveen here this morning to tell us what was that campaign all about and who designed it, Nupur.
Karthik, first let me tell you, Zohran Mamdani winning as the mayor of NYC, New York City is quite a moment. And I feel for one, his social media campaign has literally outshined. For people like me who were sitting in Noida, we were hooked to the campaign. And I think Andrew Epstein, he is the man who's to be credited for the entire social media campaign that was designed for Zohran Mamdani. And if you look at the campaign, like imagine Mamdani, he was not known to the world for say a year ago. And in the last 6 to 7 months, especially post his June victory in the primaries, everybody was hooked to his campaign. And the kind of reels and the sort of social media messaging that was included in his campaign, from everything from Bollywood references to suddenly speaking in Hindi slangs, he has a way of giving back to his opponents in a very charming way, to say the least. And I'd also tell you, Sally Lee Sussman, she is a famous corporate executive in America who seems to be part of Mamdani's campaign, and she has been a part of Democratic presidential campaigns for the likes of Barack Obama and Joe Biden. She was quoted saying in New York Times yesterday, when she met Mamdani for the first time, there was something charming about his personality that, one cannot say no to him and they want to help him out. So I think Mamdani's charm has really worked, and especially for Gen Zs, because Mamdani was himself quoted saying that, he really wants first-time voters to come out and vote, and he wants people to take part in politics and become a part of the daily political system. And I think, there are a lot of social media reports about how young New Yorkers are saying that their kids requested them that you must go out and vote for Mamdani, otherwise we will not let you inside the houses. So I think he has been able to create a chord with youngsters, and definitely across the world people were really hooked up to the election. In fact, I was for one looking at the election for the overnight yesterday, and I think now there's a lot for him to deliver because he has made some good solid promises, and now we have to see how his social media game also progresses as he becomes the mayor of New York City.
All right, so thank you so much for that lovely backstory, Nupur. course, stay with us. We'll also talk about Mamdani's love story in just a bit. But I want to take some of the points that you've raised back to Shri. And Shri, I want to understand Zohran Mamdani's victory. How much do you think it has to do with the cost of living crisis in New York City? How much of it does it have to do with his Muslim identity? And how much do you think his appeal, thanks to his campaign to Gen Z, has played a part in his victory?
So, Kartik, the smartest thing Mamdani did as a political campaign was to focus on this whole issue of affordability. Anyone who's been to New York or even tried to rent, stay in a hotel or rent an Airbnb, you know that even a one-bedroom in New York costs you upwards of $3,000 in a decent, safe neighborhood. And don't forget that Mamdani grew up in Queens, which is basically the hub of South Asian immigrants. So he has a very keen finger on the pulse of South Asian and the immigrant and the poor residents of New York City. And he made it, his campaign leitmotif. It was a zeitgeist of the moment in New York that, the city was becoming too unaffordable, too expensive for anyone who's not a millionaire. So I think he struck the right chord with the voters. That said, Kartik, I can, I don't want to sound very negative here, but the Mamdani mayorship may turn out to be a disaster if Mr. Mamdani drives away businesses from New York because he wants to tax them, or he wants to implement policies which brings everyone down in terms of their income levels or their poverty levels and make the city poorer, which is what socialism essentially tries to do. And we know that socialism hasn't really worked in any part of the world. What works is developing, people, developing economies, making everyone richer. You don't prosper by trying to, make everyone poorer or bringing everyone down to a medium sort of an income level by driving away the rich or the income, that rich corporations are paying and generating. So I think, like Rakesh also said, it's nice to say a lot of things in your, manifesto to maybe become the mayor and win votes. But, if you don't have the money, the city, which has already declined quite a lot over the years, will probably become a basket case if the rich leave the city, the rich businesses leave the city. So Mamdani has a very, very fine line to walk, especially given that he doesn't have a very friendly government in DC, President Donald Trump, who's going to be, trying to, make things difficult for him as well, because he's not a candidate that Trump supports.
So, Mithali, again, back to a point that you had raised earlier, and this is something that Shri is also skeptical about, that there is going to be some washing out of capital from New York City. If you're driving away corporates, where are the jobs going to come from? And hence, the minimum wage that he wants to up to $30 per hour, who's going to pay for it? At the end of the day, if you want to build 200,000 houses, you want to increase the minimum wage, but you don't have private capital flowing in, how does the city of New York work?
No, absolutely, Karthik. I agree with with everybody when they say that you cannot drive away businesses. But this is why, if I was Zohran Mamdani, I'd probably start with policies that bring down the cost of living rather than raising the minimum wages immediately. So, the scheme on free buses. We've actually done a study on the free bus scheme across India. There are many cities that have introduced free buses. There are also free bus schemes operating across US cities, other US cities. And we've also seen free buses operating in Europe. And Geneva is, a shining example where the bus is literally free for everybody. So I think schemes like that, and schemes which are more market oriented, for example, the supermarket scheme or the scheme on affordable housing. These are schemes where I would say, he should put his focus in the first phase of implementing his campaign promises, as well as with childcare. And then move towards, minimum wages, because very honestly, at the first go, it is important for him to engage with businesses and say, look, we are trying to improve the lives of your workers and make your workers happier, make your workers, sort of more productive. But at the same time not cost you so much. I mean, for a universal childcare program to cost something like $5 to $6 billion, or for free buses to cost $1 billion is really not that high when you look at the overall size of the New York budget, as well as for the overall size of the philanthropic commitments that come in from the US. I mean,
Right.
these are very affordable programs.
Right.
So at the end of the day, important to engage with business.
All right, engage with business, and of course philanthropy alone may not be able to drive and shore up all these schemes that Mamdani has promised and in fact committed to New Yorkers. But Rakesh, I want to expand the scope of this discussion and bring your view on this, that let's say even if Mamdani is able to fulfill 50%, 60%, 70% of his promises in the manifesto, does this signal the rise of the left, and what could this potentially mean for Donald Trump and his politics?
See, Karthik, as of now, it's obviously a great setback to Donald Trump and his entire way of looking at governing US, and also a template for the rest of the world. So it looks quite inviting and appetizing that there's a new format, a new template. But I'm tempted to draw a comparison in the Indian context because, we have a Delhi government like Aam Aadmi Party and the, union government at the center. We have seen the power of era of collaboration, this double engine ki sarkar. These are not just election slogans or political statements. They really mean a lot, because unless and until you collaborate, you can't have competing schemes on health, childcare, and then run afoul with one another. So it's very important to collaborate both with the center, that's the Trump administration, where he's already, an antagonist, and they're not, they're not going to like each other from day one. So he has to navigate that as a big challenge. Second is bringing capital back on its side, because frankly, being pro-poor and pro-poverty, there's a very thin line, and there's a lot of learning from the Indian context again. Unless and until you have policies which have capability to stand on their own feet, they're bound to fail, Karthik. So my view is that he is obviously got a historic chance. There are possibilities that he would also, if he is successful, expand his role in the national framework. And parallelly, the issue of, if we move away for a second from political economy to the hardcore political issue, the issue of identity, the Muslim identity, the charge of being, persecuted, minorities, immigration, all these things will come into play as parallel, so to say, surround and amplification. But the core thing is his promise of reimagining the life of New York citizens. So that, I think, if he is not able to deliver on that, you see what happened in Delhi. There is bound to, have repercussions, and voters are extremely smart. They really rise high on expectations, but they have the capability to pull down the trigger and pull you back.
All right, Rakesh, thank you so much for that input. And of course, there's a new love story in the making between Zohran Mamdani and New Yorkers, and let's hope it happens to be a long-lasting one. But there is a personal side and a personal love story also about Zohran Mamdani. Nupur, you were reading about it. Tell us about it.
Of course, Zohran Mamdani and his wife, who's now his wife, Rama Duabji, they had a very interesting love story. And I think just after his June primaries, they got married. And then their love story actually unfolded on social media. And it's an interesting one because Mamdani met his wife, Rama, on Hinge, which is a dating website. And that was something that really created a chord with the youngsters because, a few years ago, dating websites were considered a taboo. Not everybody would speak about meeting somebody on a dating website, but Mamdani was quite open and very candid about the fact that he met his wife on a dating website. And Mamdani has a lot of identities, right? He is an Indian, he is a Muslim, he is an Ugandan, he is a and he's a New Yorker as well. So all these identities combined with the fact that he's open to these progressive values, like, speaking about how he met his wife, and the fact that his wife is also a very progressive person on social media. She's an illustrator, a creative artist. And so these things combined, they really struck a chord with people, not just in New York, but across the world. So I wonder if people from India and from other parts of the world, if they can connect to Mamdani on a personal level. I'm sure New Yorkers definitely felt it because they get to see him in person. And I think that is what adds to his charm and probably his success as he's become the New York mayor. Karthik.
All right, the chord has been struck. Is the symphony going to last, and is the crescendo going to be eventually attained at the end of Mamdani's term? Well, Those are some questions which remain unanswered right now. But for now, obviously a big moment for New York City, for New Yorkers, for Zohran Mamdani, as well as people who relate to his politics and his policies. Let's leave it at that. Thank you so much, R. Sridharan, Rakesh Khar, Mitali Nekore, Nupur Praveen, for your time on this important story this morning. With that, we will slip into a short break. News continues on the other side.
भारत सरकार ने सभी देशवासियों के हित में टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस से जीएसटी पूरी तरह से हटाकर जीरो कर दिया है। इससे टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस काफी सस्ता हो गया है। पॉलिसी बाजार पर अब 1 करोड़ का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 400 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
सर, वाटर प्रूफिंग के लिए बेस्ट है।
वेंकी जी, एक छोटा सा गिफ्ट बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस देने के लिए।
ऐसा क्या है इसमें?
1 साल में वाटर प्रूफिंग को कुछ भी हुआ तो वापस करके देंगे।
वापस करके देंगे?
वो भी फ्री। पेंटिंग में पहली बार बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस। रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर।
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
जी, आपने भारत कनेक्ट का नाम सुना है?
शादी वादी कराएं क्या?
शादी नहीं, 5 लाख एजेंट्स की मदद से बिल पेमेंट्स पॉसिबल बनाते हैं।
ओ,
जैसे अभी किया।
शाबाश।
आप हमें जानते नहीं पर मानते जरूर हैं। हम हैं भारत कनेक्ट।
Welcome back. You're watching News9. This is Morning Brief at 9. On to other stories that we're tracking for you this morning. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said India is fast emerging as one of the world's leading economies and will soon become the 3rd largest economy globally. Speaking at an event on Tuesday, Sitharaman said India stands tall today because of its economic strength, moving from the 10th largest economy back in 2014 to the 4th largest now and soon to the 3rd spot. She urged Indians to believe in their own potential, saying no one can call a nation of 140 crore people a dead economy, referring, of course, to the statement from US President Donald Trump a few months back. The minister highlighted that India's growth has been inclusive, pulling over 25 million people out of multidimensional poverty. Sitharaman also pointed to the government's capital expenditure-led growth model, which she said has shown a strong multiplier effect in sustaining growth. On the future, she said technology and artificial intelligence will be key drivers, transforming everything from manufacturing to agriculture. Sitharaman also encouraged students and researchers to build India-centric policy models as well as deepen engagement with local economies. Listen in. Now, amid ongoing US-India trade discussions, the White House has confirmed that US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi are in frequent talks. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on Tuesday that the US President and his trade team are engaged in serious discussions with India. Now, responding to questions about the future of India-US citizenship, she said President Trump feels very positive and strongly about the issue and has great respect for Prime Minister Modi.
I think he feels very positive and strongly about it. As you know, he recently, a few weeks back, spoke to Prime Minister directly when he celebrated in the Oval Office Diwali with many high-ranking Indian American officials here at the White House. We have a great U.S. ambassador to India in Mr. Sergio Gore, who will represent our country very well. And the President and his trade team continue to be in very serious discussions with India with respect to that topic. So I know the President has great respect for Prime Minister Modi, and they speak pretty frequently.
All right, no confirmation on the Indian side just as yet on how frequently Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump speak and how soon that bilateral trade agreement between India and US will eventually go through. Well, fall of 2025 is the expectation still on the table. But Moving on now to other partnerships India is stitching. Well, India and Israel have further deepened their decades-long defense partnership by signing a new memorandum of understanding on defense cooperation in Tel Aviv. The agreement was inked during the 17th Joint Working Group meeting on Tuesday, co-chaired by India's Defense Secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh as well as Director General of Israeli Military Defense, Major General Amir Baram. The MOU set a comprehensive framework for future collaboration covering strategic dialogues, joint training, defense, industrial cooperation, research and development, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, as well as technological innovation. Now, according to India's Defense Ministry, the agreement aims to promote co-development and co-production of advanced defense systems, enabling both nations to share cutting-edge technology with each other. Now, both sides also reviewed ongoing projects and agreed that their partnership has yielded major mutual benefits. Meanwhile, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal is now in New Zealand to review progress on the proposed India-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement. In a post on X, Goyal said he's looking forward to expediting discussions with his counterpart, Todd McLay, and building a comprehensive, mutually beneficial partnership between India and New Zealand. Remember, this is the fourth round of free trade agreement talks between the two countries, and this fourth round began in Auckland on November 3rd, focusing on strengthening bilateral trade and investment ties. During his visit, Piyush Goyal will meet industry leaders and investors to explore new areas of collaboration and innovation. The Commerce Ministry said the visit reflects the shared commitment of both countries to fast-track the trade deal and deepen economic cooperation between India and New Zealand. And more trade deals and more free trade agreement talks are on. Bahrain has expressed strong interest in signing a free trade agreement with India, calling New Delhi a key strategic partner. The country's Minister for Sustainable Development, Noor bint Ali Al Khulaf, said discussions are already underway and the two sides hope to conclude the deal within 2 years. Now, speaking at the Gateway Gulf 2025 event, she said Bahrain views India as a vital and Japan with a focus on technology, education as well as tourism. Her remarks come after External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met his Bahraini counterpart in New Delhi, where both nations also agreed to begin talks on a double taxation avoidance agreement to deepen economic cooperation. Listen in.
While Bahrain and India established diplomatic relations over 50 years ago, in 1971, our rich historical ties extends back nearly 5,000 years, rooted in trade and cultural exchange between the ancient civilizations of Dilmun and the Indus Valley. Today, these economic links remain central to our relationship, which has flourished across various fields. India continues to be one of Bahrain's primary trading partners, and both
also seen a steady growth of bilateral trade and investment between our countries. We welcome investors from Bahrain to come and explore investment opportunities in India, conclusion of a bilateral investment treaty, and the establishment of a joint working group on trade and investment will further boost our economic ties.
All right, and let's pivot away from free trade agreement talks and on to corporate stories this morning. Well, let's move on first to the Tata Group. And after weeks of speculation, late Ratan Tata's close associate and businessman, Mehli Mistry, has written a letter to Chairman of Tata Trust, Noel Tata, informing him of his decision to step down as a trustee of Tata Trusts. In a letter, Mistry conveyed that his commitment to Ratan Tata's vision includes a duty to ensure that the Tata Trusts are not drawn into disputes that could damage their long-standing legacy. Now, before stepping down, Mistry had also filed a preemptive caveat with the Maharashtra Charity Commissioner seeking a hearing before any changes were made to the list of trustees. His letter puts an end to days and days of speculation, formally marking his exit from the Tata Trust. Now, Mistry's tenure as trustee formally ended on October 27th this year, while a Board of Trustees resolution passed on October 17th, 2024 had proposed his reappointment as a lifetime trustee. The move did not materialize as 3 trustees withheld approval for his continuation in the Sir Darobji Tata Trust as well as the Sir Ratan Tata Trust. Apart from Chairman Noel Tata, the trustees who had voted against the reappointment of Mehli Mistry were TVS Motors Chairman Emeritus Venu Srinivasan as well as former Defence Secretary Vijay Singh, who is also among the trustees on Tata Trust. Former Citibank India CEO Pramit Jhaveri, Mumbai lawyer Darius Khambata and Pune-based philanthropist Jahangir H.C. Jahangir had supported the reappointment of Mehli Mistry. I have my colleague Amit Ranjan joining me live from the newsroom with the story. Amit, good morning. Talk to us first, of course, about what the letter entails. Of course, we have seen the mention of Sir Ratan Tata's long-standing legacy, but also, more importantly, Tata Sons has been trying to withstand this pressure and not give in to the pressure of the RBI to list itself. What does all this mean? Put it in context for our viewers.
Good morning, Karthik. Now it's about control. There would have been 2 power centers, Noel Tata and Mehli Mistry, who was close to Ratan Tata. And Noel Tata obviously wanted more control. I'm speculating here, and Mehli Mistry, as he has stated, did not want to draw Tata Sons into a public dispute. And therefore, he has respectfully stepped down after few weeks of public speculation, but he has ended it there. Now, Tata Sons has been, Tata Trust and Tata Sons has been avoiding a public listing, and the reasons are basically 5 broadly. One is to preserve control. Now, public listing, they have 66% stake in Tata's. A public listing will dilute their control, and this will affect appointments of board members and things of that sort. The second reason is avoiding public regulatory scrutiny. Now, once it's a public entity, it will come under the scrutiny of Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI. And Tata Sons wants to avoid that as much as possible. Third one is Tata's is quite a philanthropic sort of a conglomerate. Now, a listed company will have quarterly result pressures from shareholders, and Tata's wants to avoid that over their long-term vision of how they want to move the company forward. Takeover risks is an obvious thing that they want to avoid. Once it's a listed company, the takeover risks become larger. And lastly, the most important one, I believe, is Shapurji Palonji, which holds 18.4% stake in the company, right now is debt-laden, and they want a cash-out exit. Now, once the company is listed, it will be open to a market valuation. Tata's wants to handle this privately through a buyback. And therefore, these are the broad reasons why they are avoiding a listing right now.
All right, Amit Ranjan, thank you so much for those inputs on this important story. Staying with other corporate news, Reliance Infrastructure Limited has clarified that the recent Enforcement Directorate action attaching assets worth 7,500 crore rupees under PMLA or the Prevention of Money Laundering Act will not affect its business operations or its shareholders. The company said that the majority of the attached assets, including 32 acres of land at the Dhirubhai Ambani Knowledge City in Navi Mumbai, valued at over 4,460 crore rupees, belonging to Reliance Communications, which is already under the control of a resolution professional and its committee of creditors led by the State Bank of India. Reliance Infrastructure added that the ED's move has no impact on its operations or that of Reliance Power, even as investigations continue into alleged bank fraud cases involving 3 Anil Ambani Group companies. And it's a public holiday today and the stock markets are closed, but the action on the IPO market is still abuzz. Now remember, the initial public offering of Lenskart Solutions has received a massive response from investors, with the issue subscribed over 28 times on the final day of bidding, which was yesterday. The 7,278 crore rupee IPO attracted bids for more than 281 crore shares against nearly 10 crore shares on offer. Lenskart has set a price band of 382 to 402 rupees per share, targeting a valuation of nearly 70,000 crore rupees. The company plans to use the proceeds to expand its store network, boost technology and brand marketing, and fund potential acquisitions. Lenskart is set to make its stock market debut on November 10th. Meanwhile, the IPO of Billion Brains Garage Ventures, the parent of discount stockbroking platform Grow, opened to a solid start, getting 57% subscription on the very first day of the IPO being opened. That was yesterday. Now, retail investors led the charge, fully subscribing their quota, while the institutional portion saw steady interest. This IPO, valued at 6,632 crore rupees, is priced between 95 rupees to 100 rupees per share, valuing Grow at over 61,700 crore rupees. Now, this venture is backed by Peak 15 Ventures, Tiger Capital, as well as Satya Nadella. Grow, remember, will list on the Bourses on November 12th. And with that, we will slip into another short break, but other global stories affecting business, economy and lives on the other side of the break. You're watching Morning Brief at 9.
पावर यूज करने का टाइम आ गया।
आप टेंशन मत लीजिए, IIFL फाइनेंस से झटपट गोल्ड लोन लीजिए और बिजनेस आगे बढ़ाइए।
लाइफ जब भी आगे बढ़ने का मौका दे, अपनी सुपर पावर, अपना गोल्ड यूज करिए और IIFL फाइनेंस से गोल्ड लोन लीजिए।
IIFL फाइनेंस करता है सीधी बात।
भारत सरकार ने सभी देशवासियों के हित में हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस से GST पूरी तरह से हटाकर 0 कर दिया है। इससे हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस काफी सस्ता हो गया है। पॉलिसी बाजार पर अब 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 550 रुपए महीने से शुरू। policybazaar.com।
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
Moments come alive, even in everyday life. Every moment finds its place, and every day comes alive inside the aircross. What do you say, Kara?
I think Mahi, Titro and Aircross have her moment to pop.
Wow, say that again.
Welcome back. You're watching News9. This is Morning Brief at 9. On to other stories from around the world. As always, let's begin with the United States. US President Donald Trump on Tuesday signed an order to halve the extra tariffs on Chinese imports linked to fentanyl, cementing a key outcome of his talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The move rolls back the additional levy from 20% to 10% effective November 10th, part of a deal reached at the Trump-Xi Jinping summit in Busan last month. The earlier surcharge had been imposed after the US accused China of enabling the flow of fentanyl precursors into America. In return, Beijing pledged stronger action to curb shipments of chemicals used to produce the deadly synthetic opioid. The order notes that Washington will keep monitoring China's compliance. The Busan talks in South Korea also produced a broader tariff freeze, delaying higher tit-for-tat duties until November 10th of this year. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on Tuesday voiced confidence in the administration's legal defense of President Trump's tariff strategy, calling it essential for U.S. national security and economic strength. Her remarks come as the Supreme Court prepares to review the legality of the tariffs this week. The measures, which raise costs on a range of foreign imports, remain a cornerstone of Trump's economic doctrine.
We are 100% confident in the president and his team's legal argument in the merits of the law in this case, and we remain optimistic that the Supreme Court is going to do the right thing. The importance of this case cannot be overstated. The president must have the emergency authority to utilize tariffs. Look at what President Trump has been able to do with the leverage and the power of tariffs. He's been able to sign peace deals all over the world and end global conflicts and literally save lives. He's been able to bring in trillions of dollars of investments into our country. In fact, this year alone, we are going to cut the deficit by $600 billion, namely because of the president's effective use of tariffs.
Moving on to U.S. markets now. The U.S. markets tumbled on Tuesday, with major indices ending sharply lower after big banks warned of a possible correction. The alerts have highlighted investor concerns that equity valuations may now be overstretched. Take a look.
U.S. stocks closed sharply lower on Tuesday, with the Dow dropping more than 0.5%, the S&P 500 shedding more than 1%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq losing 2%. All three major stock indexes slid well into negative territory after the CEOs of Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs stoked fears of a potential market bubble, with the S&P 500 having climbed to a series of all-time highs, largely powered by the AI boom. That, combined with uncertainty over the outcome of Tuesday's political races and the future path of interest rates, had investors heading for the exits, said Rob Hayworth, Senior Investment Strategy Director at U.S. Bank Asset Management Group.
I think as we look at today in the markets, we're seeing a bit of a risk-off move. We're waiting on election results to tell us something, I think, about the election environment and maybe the government shutdown. But really, I think what investors are concerned about is, are we reaching peak AI? And is the Fed maybe not going to cut in December? And that's causing a little angst in the market and a little bit of a sell-off, particularly in the highly valued names in the NASDAQ.
Among those highly valued names, 6 of the Magnificent Seven stocks lost ground, with AI chip leader NVIDIA ending nearly 4% lower. Apple was the only gainer. Shares of Palantir Technologies slid 8%, despite the data analytics company's better-than-expected fourth-quarter revenue forecast. The stock has soared over 150% so far this year. And shares of Uber fell about 5% in the wake of the ride-hailing platform's quarterly profit miss.
All right, from US on to UK now. British Finance Minister Rachel Reeves on Tuesday signalled tough decisions ahead as she prepares her November 26 budget. Reeves said she will take necessary, not necessarily popular steps to shield the UK from higher inflation and interest rates. In a rare pre-budget address, she promised a growth-focused and fair blueprint to support businesses, jobs and innovation amid rising debt, weak productivity and persistent price pressures. Listen in.
I will make the choices necessary to deliver strong foundations for our economy. My budget, led by this government's values of fairness and opportunity, and focused entirely on the priorities of the British people: protecting our NHS, reducing our national debt, and improving the cost of living. There is a lot of speculation about the choices that I will make. I understand that. These are important choices that will shape the future of our country for years to come.
And staying with stories from the United Kingdom, British oil major BP posted a smaller than expected drop in third quarter profit on Tuesday as stronger refining margins helped offset weaker crude prices. More details in this report.
BP reported a smaller than expected fall in third quarter underlying profit Tuesday. The energy giant had to face a decline in oil prices during the period. Average Brent crude prices were down 13% from the same period last year. But higher refining margins partly offset the impact of this for BP. The company said it made an underlying replacement cost profit or adjusted net income of $2.21 billion. That was above analyst forecasts and marginally below last year's number. BP's European rivals Shell and Total Energy also posted third quarter profit falls last month as they were likewise dragged down by lower oil prices. BP kept the pace of its quarterly share buyback program of $750 million through the third quarter. Chief Executive Murray Auchincloss said he expects completed or announced asset sale agreements would reach around $5 billion this year. There was no update on the closely watched sale process for BP's Castrol Lubricants unit, which is central to its $20 billion disposal programme. BP has vowed to improve profitability and cut costs while spending more on oil and gas. That follows a drive into renewables under its last CEO, Bernard Looney. BP's customers and products division was boosted by higher refining margins. It reported profit before interest and tax of $1.61 billion, well ahead of last year's $381 million. BP shares were up close to 1% in early trade, outperforming a broader index of European energy companies.
And the world's largest wealth fund, Norway's Sovereign Wealth Fund, said on Tuesday it will vote against the proposed compensation package for Tesla CEO Elon Musk at this week's annual general meeting. The plan includes shares worth up to $1 trillion. Take a look.
Norway's Sovereign Wealth Fund is the world's largest, and on Tuesday it said it would vote against approving Tesla CEO Elon Musk's proposed compensation package, containing shares worth up to $1 trillion. Investors in the electric vehicle maker will decide on November the 6th whether to confirm the package. It's thought to be the largest ever CEO compensation agreement, and critics have called it excessive. So far, the Norwegian Wealth Fund is the largest outside Tesla investor to say how it plans to vote. The next largest to do so, Baron Capital, on Monday, said it would support Musk's pay package. Other major investors like BlackRock, Vanguard and State Street have yet to disclose their voting plans. Tesla's board is pushing for shareholders to approve the plan. Its chair warned last week Musk could leave the company if the deal is rejected. While the package could grant stock worth up to $1 trillion over 10 years, the cost of those shares at the time of the award will be deducted. According to Reuters analysis.
And breaking news coming in, Mamdani is speaking from New York City. Let's listen in.
You showed that when politics speaks to you without condescension, we can usher in a new era of leadership. We will fight for you because we are you. Or as we say on Steinway, ana minkum wa ilaykum. Thank you to those so often forgotten by the politics of our city who made this movement their own. I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties. Yes, aunties. To every New Yorker in Kensington and Midwood and Hunts Point, know this. This city is your city, and this democracy is yours too. This campaign is about people like Wesley, an $11.99 organizer I met outside of Elmhurst Hospital on Thursday night. A New Yorker who lives elsewhere, who commutes 2 hours each way from Pennsylvania because rent is too expensive in this city. It's about people like the woman I met on the BX33 years ago, who said to me, I used to love New York, but now it's just where I live. And it's about people like Richard, the taxi driver I went on a 15-day hunger strike with outside of City Hall, who still has to drive his cab 7 days a week. My brother, we are in City Hall now. This victory is for all of them. And it's for all of you. The more than 100,000 volunteers who built this campaign into an unstoppable force. Because of you, we will make this city one that working people can love and live in again. With every door knocked every petition signature earned, and every hard-earned conversation, you eroded the cynicism that has come to define our politics. Now I know that I have asked for much from you over this last year. Time and again, you have answered my calls. But I have one final request. New York City, breathe this moment in. We have held our breath for longer than we know. We have held it in anticipation of defeat. Held it because the air has been knocked out of our lungs too many times to count. Held it because we cannot afford to exhale. Thanks to all of those who sacrificed so much, we are breathing in the air of a city that has been reborn. To my campaign team, who believed when no one else did, and who took an electoral project and turned it into so much more, I will never be able to express the depth of my gratitude. You can sleep now. To my parents, Mama and Baba, you have made me into the man I am today. I am so proud to be your son. And to my incredible wife, Rama, Hayati, there is no one I would rather have by my side in this moment and in every moment. To every New Yorker, whether you voted for me, for one of my opponents, or felt too disappointed by politics to vote at all, thank you for the opportunity to prove myself worthy of your trust. I will wake each morning with a singular purpose: to make this city better for you than it was the day before. There are many who thought this day would never come, who feared that we would be condemned only to a future of less, with every election consigning us simply to more of the same. And there are others who see politics today as too cruel for the flame of hope to still burn. New York, we have answered those fears. Tonight we have spoken in a clear voice. Hope is alive. Hope is a decision that tens of thousands of New Yorkers made day after day, volunteer shift after volunteer shift, despite attack ad after attack ad. More than 1 million of us stood in our churches, in gymnasiums, in community centers, as we filled in the ledger of democracy. And while we cast our ballots alone, we chose hope together. Hope over tyranny. Hope over big money and small ideas. Hope over despair. We won because New Yorkers allowed themselves to hope that the impossible could be made possible. And we won because we insisted that no longer would politics be something that is done to us. Now it is something that we do. Standing before you, I think of the words of Jawaharlal Nehru. A moment comes but rarely in history when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends and when the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance. Tonight we have stepped out from the old into the new. So let us speak now with clarity and conviction that cannot be misunderstood about what this new age will deliver and for whom. This will be an age where New Yorkers expect from their leaders a bold vision of what we will achieve, rather than a list of excuses for what we are too timid to attempt. Central to that vision will be the most ambitious agenda to tackle the cost of living crisis that this city has seen since the days of Fiora LaGuardia. An agenda that will freeze the rents for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants. Make buses fast and free. And deliver universal childcare across our city. Years from now, may our only regret be that this day took so long to come. This new age will be one of relentless improvement. We will hire thousands more teachers. We will cut waste from a bloated bureaucracy. We will work tirelessly to make lights shine again in the hallways of NYCHA developments where they have long flickered. Safety and justice will go hand in hand as we work with police officers to reduce crime and create a department of community safety that tackles the mental health crisis and homelessness crises head on. Excellence will become the expectation across government, not the exception. In this new age we make for ourselves, we will refuse to allow those who traffic in division and hate to pit us against one another. In this moment of political darkness, New York will be the light. Here, we believe in standing up for those we love. Whether you are an immigrant, a member of the trans community, one of the many black women that Donald Trump has fired from a federal job, a single mom still waiting for the cost of groceries to go down, or anyone else with their back against the wall, your struggle is ours too. And we will build a city hall that stands steadfast alongside Jewish New Yorkers and does not waver in the fight against the scourge of anti-Semitism. Where the more than 1 million Muslims know that they belong. Not just in the 5 boroughs of this city, but in the halls of power. No more will New York be a city where you can traffic in Islamophobia and win an election. This new age will be defined by a competence and a compassion that have too long been placed at odds with one another. We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about. For years, those in City Hall have only helped those who can help them. But on January 1st, we will usher in a city government that helps everyone. Now I know that many have heard our message only through the prism of misinformation. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent to redefine reality and to convince our neighbors that this new age is something that should frighten them. As has so often occurred, the billionaire class has sought to convince those making $30 an hour that their enemies are those earning $20 an hour. They want the people to fight amongst ourselves so that we remain distracted from the work of remaking a long broken system. We refuse to let them dictate the rules of the game anymore. They can play by the same rules as the rest of us. Together, we will usher in a generation of change. And if we embrace this brave new course, rather than fleeing from it, we can respond to oligarchy and authoritarianism with the strength it fears, not the appeasement it craves. After all, if anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power. This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one. So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. We will hold bad landlords to account because the Donald Trumps of our city have grown far too comfortable taking advantage of their tenants. We will put an end to the culture of corruption that has allowed billionaires like Trump to evade taxation and exploit tax breaks. We will stand alongside unions and expand labor protections because we know, just as Donald Trump does, that when working people have ironclad rights, the bosses who seek to extort them become very small indeed. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant. So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us. When we enter City Hall in 58 days, expectations will be high. We will meet them. A great New Yorker once said that while you campaign in poetry, you govern in prose. If that must be true, let the prose we write still rhyme, and let us build a shining city for all. After all, the conventional wisdom would tell you that I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this. And yet, if tonight teaches us anything, it is that convention has held us back. We have bowed at the altar of caution, and we have paid a mighty price. Too many working people cannot recognize themselves in our party. And too many among us have turned to the right for answers to why they've been left behind. We will leave mediocrity in our past. No longer will we have to open a history book for proof that Democrats can dare to be great. Our greatness will be anything but abstract. It will be felt by every rent-stabilized tenant who wakes up on the 1st of every month. knowing the amount they're going to pay hasn't soared since the month before. It will be felt by each grandparent who can afford to stay in the home they have worked for, and whose grandchildren live nearby, because the cost of childcare didn't send them to Long Island. It will be felt by the single mother who is safe on her commute and whose bus runs fast enough that she doesn't have to rush school drop-off to make it to work on time. And it will be felt when New Yorkers open their newspapers in the morning and read headlines of success, not scandal. Most of all, it will be felt by each New Yorker when the city they love finally loves them back. Together, New York, we're going to freeze the... Together, New York, we're going to make buses fast and... Together, New York, we're going to deliver universal... Let the words we've spoken together, the dreams we've dreamt together, become the agenda we deliver together. New York, this power, it's yours. This city belongs to you. Thank you.
All right, you're watching News 9's rolling coverage on New York mayor elections. This is me, Shita Mitra.
And I'm Sakshi Singh Litori.